podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Post-Conference Presser for Anfield Index. It's a massive game, isn't it, coming up, ladies and gents? Arsenal away on the Sunday, the Super Sunday, the 4:30 kickoff, British time. The Reds are still 5 points clear. The Reds still demolished Chelsea, and the Reds should be confident of going to the Emirates and getting a result. But as normal, ladies and gents, I will take you through Jurgen Klopp's Q's and A's. I'll take you through the clues from the other night against Chelsea. We'll talk about the threats briefly that Arsenal offer, because we seem to be playing them forever, don't we? Again, then the formation and lineup, and obviously that will be affected by some of the news in the press conference, so we'll get into it straight away. So the first question was Jurgen was asked about, how you're doing well with rhythm and the players coming back and managing that challenge and keeping everyone happy. What did he say? That's not a challenge, but it's the first moment in a season when we have a luxury problem. There's more players available for different positions than we can start. This week, between Arsenal and Burnley, is the only one, I think, where we have no midweek game. So it's the only time we have that, and we need all of them in good shape. We are lucky with the boys who are still available, the timings or who came back, like when Malcuit was injured and Watari was there. When the left back was out, Costas was good, and he gave a few examples, which is absolutely true. We need them all, and I'm happy as a tough opponent. It's even tougher going to Arsenal coming up. Yeah, it's an interesting one, this, shall we say? I like the way you phrase it. It's a luxury problem. It's good to have. Liverpool never have luxury problems. Usually, sometimes the last few years, we're struggling to put people out, and we've had a luxury problem. We had midfielders last season, but yeah, maybe the less said about that, the better, even when there was multiple fit. But it is a tough game. It's good to have certain players available, and there's big decisions, which I will give you my thoughts on slightly later. So then was talked about the run-in and chance of opportunity and how that's discussed with the squad, which wasn't a bad question. He said, yeah, but I cannot add that. And he kind of did an impression of fans, which I thought was quite funny. He's like, can I say there's 8 points between us and them? Everyone knows that. And he literally started talking like a fan of connotations and doing impressions, which was quite funny. That's outside talks, and that's fine. Inside, we focus on game by game. We have to do that and try and win. That's all. It's difficult anyway, and Arsenal are more difficult, but we are in a good moment. The things we did well, we should pack it all into this. Yeah, I don't really know what people expect Jurgen to say on this. If you think back even to that 1920 season, pre-COVID, and where we were doing and everything was going so well, like our best ever start, they were so clear, the players were not talking about this one game at a time. Even in that season a couple of years ago where it still ended in ultimate glory, but didn't, the way we talked about it and the players, like, just know it's game by game. So what else do you expect them to say? You know their mindset, you know the resoluteness of this team. That's what we expect. And speaking of mindsets, the next question was about Darwin Núñez, which led to a bit of a smile from me at first, and then utter horror at what unfolded. So he's asked about, Darwin missing, does it affect him? He said, of course it affects him. He's a human being. He knows he will have another chance. Like the penalty miss, that hit him. As a side story, the worst side story in the world, by the way, I don't know if he'll be available. Someone stepped on his foot and it was very painful. It was only when we took the boot off after that we saw that, and he wanted to do that after, but he left the stadium in a boot, and I'm not talking about a football boot. There's nothing broke. Let's phrase clear. We have to see if we can get his foot back into a boot, and we have to wait a little bit. I judge him for the assist for Lucho, though, because late in a game, super decisive, it was super important. He sees Lucho come in, and that is outstanding football-wise. Not being bothered by bad luck, and we can talk about everything else after the game, but stay in the game is what he did. I'm more than happy with him. Breaking the record for hitting the crossbar is not a record that anyone wants to have, but I am more than happy with him. And that's what you should focus on. Jurgen Klopp said it for the last few years, and he said it a few times last year, especially when we didn't have it. The passport into this team, as he said when asked about Numerous, is counter-pressing. Darwin's work rate the other night was absolutely outstanding. And now we know with everything, this was despite his foot clearly being in agony and having that issue as well. So add that into the mix. The mindset, he kept going despite what happened for 90 minutes. Absolutely sensational, I thought he was the other night. The disastrous news, though, that injury update, makes him doubtful. I see people tweeting already, it's him out of here. It's like, he said we have to wait and see. It's about swelling, about getting a boot back on. Almost takes you back to, you hope he has a bit of that Suarez in him. When everyone remembers those Suarez years when he had a few knocks, and Stevie G's autobiography when he talked about him, didn't like going in the treating room, borrowed Stevie G's boots once, even though a couple of sizes bigger, because his foot had, the swelling on it. So let's just hope he's got that type of Uruguayan in him, so to speak. However, you hope Darwin, even if he just makes the bench, which will come to my thoughts, he's still there because he was sensational the other night. And why other fans, or why people in football wanted to hyper-analyse and make this bizarre agenda about anything to do with Darwin just absolutely baffles me beyond belief. 11 goals, 11 assists, a massive contributor. One of the main men, be clear on that, one of the main men for how we're going this season as well. I just do not get it, but hey-ho. There he is. That's what people think. Then he was asked about the chase, how the mindset and his going. And he answered quite honestly, if we want to be around City, you have to win your football games, because they do. This is funny in this league. It's the time that City is dominating. That's just how it is. They're probably not playing their best season, and they're only 2 points behind us. We could discuss that, but take it as it is. And we can discuss many things about Manchester City. We could discuss their team, their players, what we think, 115 probably different things realistically, but we are not going to talk about them. So final couple of questions. He was asked about the midfield and goals this season. Was referenced that last season there was 13 contributions. This season already there's 17. What did he say? The profile we wanted to sign was pretty clear. We wanted to have players that can play both directions, technically good, stuff like this. But it doesn't matter if the team's not playing to the highest level. The main subject that we said in pre-season, so I come back from the first day, is the team has to defend better. And that starts in the high line and the press, and they are all in. Everything has its time, and some of the best midfielders we ever had were here last year. We improved as a team again and found it, or got back to our way. We want to be dominant in possession, and that's the reason, that's all. Everybody in this team hated the goal Chelsea scored and took Ali's clean sheet away. Love that. Profile clear. Yeah, the midfield, it was clear what we needed. There's some things I know is that revisionism or history, like we know the situation. But what I did like about what he said, and it's right, everyone has defended better. And I'll talk about this in Chelsea across all the lines. Everyone is working hard. It's not just the midfield. Yes, the midfield has serious legs now and serious players in there, but it's the legs, isn't it? It's defending better. Sensational. We really are good. If you can't be happy, I can't help you right now. So I was asked about more late goals than any other team. Said, well, it was easy. We'd have done it before, like last season. We've almost got forced into it, and we've had red cards, we've been 1-0 down, all these kind of things. I don't have to tell the boys all these old stories from 16, 17 when this happened. But look at this year, turning things around. Newcastle around from behind, Bournemouth 2, playing one of the best games I ever saw with 9 men against Tottenham. So it was outstanding. So we make the right conclusions and we're taking the right things out of it. I cannot say we are working on late goals specifically, but we've scored quite a few from the bench and there's quality coming on, and the 5 subs definitely helps. See how sharp the brain is still. No matter what anyone's saying about him going to. Everything he said, absolutely spot on. The late subs, the quality from the bench, the games that he recounts, not the way he's introduced it, the red cards. And he's talked about it before, Jurgen, hasn't he? The circumstances have almost accelerated this Liverpool 2.0 and made them grow together. So there has been a beneficial element to that. But everything he said there, absolutely sensational. Yeah. Then it was Jota and a couple of questions still about players. So Jota and Maka. So he was asked about Jota's finish and he said, he just has it. He's a complete package. It's a few injuries at the wrong time. And Diogo gets knocked like crazy. I like this. The first time he's talked about this element, the reports over the year that I get about players, he's in each one, be it with a bruise, a knock, and he really gets hurt. If he wasn't out for so long, his numbers would look so different. He's literally flying in the moment. He looks fresh, he looks explosive, an extremely smart footballer. If the world looks to one country, it's Portugal, because the amount and the kind of people to the football world in comparison to their numbers as people, it's really specialised. It's their game understanding. From the first moment I saw him at Wolves, I was excited, and he can play all 3 positions for us up front. That's how it is with strikers. He can surf on the wave. Yeah, we love him. Arsenal hate him. Diogo Jota, the number 20. I mean, the other night, from the forward line, I was in that stadium. We just watched him for bits. He was orchestrating things in the forward area so much, dropping deep, moving people into positions. He's, as he said, Jurgen said, his football intelligence is insane. And speaking of knocks, I was terrified because he had it on the foot, if you remember, against Chelsea for the penalty when the physio came on. And twice during that game, he went to the sideline. Twice. People forget that. I was terrified, I'll be honest. Especially when we were more terrified after Nunes, but that's a different conversation. But he was terrified in regard, or I was terrified, sorry, in regards to keep going there because he does get knocks and he's had ones that keep him out for a while. He's also can tend to be a streaky player, Diogo Jota. He can go on massive runs, can't he? Where he goes, goals and assists all the time. And then people think to that one after City, a good few years ago, he just went blank for many, many games. Then he came back, and from that Leeds game when he first scored, been really hit, shall we say, since then. But again, small injuries. That's what you want to avoid with Jota. If you can get him in that streaky element, he is almost unplayable. He really is. And the final question he was asked was about McAllister and how he's playing the 6 and if he's impressed. Very. I'm over about the moon about this. And I could say the same thing about Argentina players like I did for Portugal. Maka's like a football doctor with how his family's analysed games as kids, with his dad, his brothers, his uncles. Could not thank his father enough. The way he plays is very special. He's very smart, and his contribution for us is extremely important. The thing is, everyone wants to write a book at individual players, and that's fantastic. They are all good. They are really, really good. This is the best league in the world, and we are top of table. Are there any bad players in this team? No. I answer your questions, but my job is not to reflect on what they did or played and how good looking they are. It's about us digging deep and going for it with these fantastic players. It's always consistency again and again and again. And I get it. He said, I'll answer the questions. You'll keep asking about players. And it is one thing to think about, because he was stiffy last season when it wasn't going well, and we talk about players in the other side. So, we can't be too unthankful. It's great to hear him wax lyrical. And even if he's being asked about the same players, I love the fact sometimes he just adds a little snippet like Jota in the reports and how he sees things of certain players. You just get a little bit more, even with the Darwin, the mindset, and give us that insight into did it affect him. It's those small little things that I love. You might not personally. Some of it is repeats, but it's going to be understandable to ask about those players. It's understandable that there's been questions asked about Conor Bradley, isn't there, after the other night? Of course there is. But at least we're talking about it in a good light. So a positive press conference. Not good news about Darwin. We'll have to see on that, and I'll talk through my predicted lineup. But let's go back to that Chelsea game the other night. I was there. The team was brilliant. The atmosphere was brilliant. The result was brilliant. 4-1. I mean, Jota, Bradley's first goal, Szoboszlai header. Luis Diaz from Darwin, 2 assists from Conor Bradley as well. Honest thoughts on that, we were sensational. The only small blemish of any kind is the goal. That's the only thing you can say. All this nonsense about Chelsea, a penalty, we destroyed them. Okay? They didn't just leave the mascot at Anfield, they left their soul at Anfield. We absolutely destroyed them. Let's be clear on that. Let's also be clear that the forward line was brilliant. Núñez, Diaz, Jota ran Chelsea's defence ragged. How many times did they pinch it higher up the field? Yeah? They look deadly. All this talk about Núñez and the obsession of people, like, if you want to let other fans get to you for other teams, let them bother you. They all won't mind Darwin Núñez is at least an option. Just be crystal clear on that. 11 goals, 11 assists. Brilliant goal with Diaz. Maybe my favourite in one way, although you could argue his better goals, I get that. But my favourite, just that Diaz, the Núñez one. I know people are going to be saying the third, aren't they, for everyone touched it. I get that completely because that was a sensational goal. But that was a highlight reel performance. That is one, stick the IV into your arm and download the content. Give me the content in a drip. We all did the same. We want to see the goals again. We want to see the performance again and again. From all the players, pretty much everyone was sensational. Alisson was having a fag. That's why he was annoyed. He's having a fag and a Kit Kat, and he got interrupted when we raised some stupid presses and let Chelsea in for 1 goal. I was probably annoyed that he actually got off his arse to move for Mudryk and didn't waste time just watching him sky it. But that's a different conversation. Talking about playing their way in or out, it's the fullback conundrum now, isn't it? That's the one. I mean, a lot of the players, and the injury to Darwin affects this, but pretty much everyone else, you're saying, well, you're not going to drop them, are you? You can't. They'll be knocking on your door quite rightly after this. The fullback situation is fascinating now because Bradley was man of the match. Conor Bradley has 4 assists and a goal. Well, man, 4 goals as well. 4 assists and a goal in his game so far. Unbelievable. He's been man of the match in 3 officially. Unbelievable. Joe Gomez has been brilliant at left back. He was brilliant the other night. They play Saka on the right wing. This is a conundrum and a half because let's still not just dismiss the experience of Trent and Robbo. Let's not dismiss their quality. Let's also not dismiss that on that left side, Robbo made a few crosses, that caused danger as well. That type of thing. That Núñez hits the bars from his cross. Let's also not dismiss that maybe the 4 subs wasn't the best thing, shall we say. It did destabilise us as they got up to speed of the game in that regard. I'm not sure he'll make 4 subs again in a row unless he's desperate. But the situation, you could argue 3-0, I understood it. So that's the debate, isn't it? Play their way in and out. Everyone else will argue, can't drop me now. And I get that. So we'll talk about that shortly. We won't spend long on this, the Arsenal threats. I mean, we played them in the FA Cup. We know what they are. We know Saka, Martinelli. We know that the Havertz issues, the Jesus issues, what Jesus scores against. All these things we know. We know they're 5 points off us. We know this is a massive game. We know it's tough because of where we're going to the Emirates. We know we'll get chances. We know they'll make chances. Maybe it comes down to who takes them. But it will be a very tough game. And there are threats that way. There are threats because it could feel a bit after the Lord Mayor's show, so to speak. We're buzzing. We've got to keep that same energy and intensity. I mean, we ran 9 kilometres further than Chelsea. Insane. It's a big ask with a short turnaround, isn't it? Arsenal's desire. It's just a difficult place to go. City and United have lost there. So they're threats. And you look back to their game the other night, there's elements there, isn't it? They can turn it on like Forest 2-1. Forest keeper was absolutely guff, but they've got goals in that team, as we saw Jesus and Saka getting on. But then you also saw this wild praise. And be clear, I like Saliba as a player. I think he's a great centre-back, I do, being objective. But all this godlike territory that these weird gunners have tried to confer him above Van Dijk. I mean, look how much I only owned him for the goal as well. So there are things to target there. However, they are a threat, and it's a tough game, no doubts. So what about the formation and the lineup, people? I think a lot of this is easily dictated, but there's some tough calls here, aren't they? This is how I honestly see it. Alisson's in nets, BBD and Canate at centre-back. You do not change that at all. It's the fullback, isn't it? I actually feel disgusted for saying this, and I mean that, and I wouldn't be disappointed if it's a different decision, but I said I'd keep Conor Bradley for Chelsea. I would bring Trent back in for this. It's tough, bit of experience. And you could all be screaming, and quite rightly, I'd have to take pelters about how you're dropping in form, keeping the shirt. Look at how he's done. Look at how he did it against Martinelli when he came on. I would take all of that. You couldn't deny it or counter it. Well, in a way, you counter it that Trent was sensational at the Emirates. Think how he played with the injury he got there as well, but he was our man of the match in that game. People ignore that. He's done well against Martinelli. Martinelli's also, got the better of him on a few occasions. You think back to the other season. But I would start Trent. Left back, Gomez for me. I would start Gomez. He played in a few. He's experienced. He's quick. Robbo, again, going forward was decent, but it's just getting back up to speed. I thought that was the best way of putting it. A few defensive times, he's a bit uncertain. Gomez is flying. He's in form. He's handled Saka before. He's got pace. Gomez and Trent would be my fullbacks. Midfield, if they're fit, you do not change that. Jones, McAllister, Szoboszlai, keep it that simple. You do not change that if they're fit. They will all need their legs. We will need the subs. The forward line, I didn't want to change this. Just to be clear, I did not want to change this. And I'm hoping this doesn't come to fruition that Darwin can start. But based on what we've heard, and he didn't rule him out, just to be clear, but I suspect Darwin Núñez drops to the bench and Cody Gakpo comes in. And then, again, you can interchange them because some might say, is Gakpo going to start in the centre? Is Gakpo going to move to the left? I think Gakpo may start on the left. But they interchange, don't they? Jota has that intelligence, Diaz on the right. I wish it was Núñez, but I do think he'll be on the bench. I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see. And the final prediction is normal, the score and scorers. I'm going to go 1-1, Diogo Jota. I want us to win, and we should be hopeful. Some will say confident. I wouldn't say confident, but should have the confidence of going there, but winning is a different thing altogether. People say that how they see it. But my gut is telling me 1-1, Diogo Jota to score our goal. Probably ask yourself, honestly, would you take a 1-1? It's not a disaster. It's a tough place to go, the Emirates. I know people say, and I agree, you feel this, if you win, you're going cock-a-hoop, but there's no counting any chickens or getting ahead of ourselves, any platitude you wish to mention here. 1-1, Diogo Jota for me. It won't be long till Sunday. It won't be long if we find out how the Reds are going. It won't be long until we find out if Darwin Núñez is fit for this one. But ladies and gents, enjoy your weekend. And that was another post-conference presser for Anfield Index.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at anfieldindex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.